Hey geography students, it's Mrs. T. I still don't have my computer fixed, and so this video might sound a little different than the other ones I've been making, and you won't be able to see me in this video either, which is no great loss because it's a bad hair day today. But anyway, we're going to continue on with chapter 2, and I'm also going to, chapter 2 is about population, and chapter 3 is about migration, which we will get to probably the end of this week, definitely the first of next week. But I'm staying so long on chapter 2, this is week 4, because I'm really going to bring in a lot about agriculture and the Industrial Revolution. The last time we had a class together in the classroom, I talked about developing nations and developed nations and industrialization and that kind of thing. And there are several chapters toward the end of the textbook that cover these topics, but I find it very helpful to discuss agriculture, the agricultural revolutions, and the industrial revolutions, plural, now, at least part of them now in the population chapter. So we're going to continue with our population discussion. We're going to talk in this short video about a famous economist, you can see, and demographer. Remember that we talked about demographics in the last class that we had together before that population pyramid video that I put up for you. We're going to talk about something called the demographic transition, and you've got some population pyramids here that we're going to examine, and we're going to look at this stage 1, 2, 3, all of this stuff through stage 5 in demographic transition. And we're going to talk a lot. I'm going to have this, cancel. I'm going to have this Word document open back here and use it kind of like it's the whiteboard, because I'm going to talk a lot about the different kinds of subsistence strategies. Let me go ahead and get that on the board here or on the Word document. We're going to talk about subsistence strategies also. I briefly remember, oh, did I not spell it right? No, I didn't. Anyway, there it is. Forgive me if I don't spell stuff correctly. I type too fast to notice sometimes. So anyway, subsistence strategies, I think we mentioned that word in class the last time we were together, and it basically means a plan. A strategy is a plan, so it'll start with a plan for something or a plan to something. I'll say for. A plan for, really subsistence means survival. It means daily survival. So the concept of daily living, from one day to the next is part of subsistence. To subsist is to live with only basic necessities, not with luxuries and extras, but only basic necessities do you have if you are living at a subsistence level. So we're going to talk about human populations regarding subsistence strategies that got us to agriculture. Agriculture is one of the subsistence strategies that we're going to focus on a lot in this class. And that's really what gives us, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but let me show you this demographic transition model back here. It's really what gives us this high birth rate, high death rate, and then you see the decrease. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me not explain that yet. Let's talk about, oops, I keep on hitting that close, and I don't mean to close it. Okay, there we go. So, population. We know about population density. We've covered physiological density. We've covered agricultural density. We know what arable land is. So remember, arable land is land that can be farmed. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Not to be confused with land that is, in fact, being farmed. It just means land that can be farmed. So, arable land is the amount, is sometimes what we want to know, the units of arable land that is available to a population in order to feed it. So this is agriculture-centered. Agriculture is a kind of subsistence strategy that focuses on surplus food production. It focuses on surplus food production so that you can make a profit or sell the excess or trade the excess that you have in order to get other products. And so food is one of the primary businesses, one of the primary economic ventures that people focus on in an agricultural subsistence strategy. But also there's other jobs related to agriculture that are part of the economic structure. So for instance, you're going to have carpenters, you're going to have seamstresses and tailors, and you're going to have butchers, and you're going to have all kinds of related jobs. So not everybody has to work in the fields in agriculture. You have a different division of labor in with agriculture. So that a division of labor means the variety of tasks that need to be done to keep society moving forward, and there is a wide variety of tasks whichever verb is correct there, that need to be done in an agricultural subsistence strategy. But usually the division of labor in agriculture is somehow closely related to that food production. So if I was a school teacher during the agricultural revolution or during early agricultural times, I would be teaching the sons and daughters, mostly the sons, or maybe I wouldn't even be an early school teacher since I'm female. I would be teaching the people who are too young to work in the fields, people who are the sons and daughters of the doctors, the bankers, the store owners, the tailors, the etc., those related jobs that have to do with supporting an agricultural society. So there's going to be a wide variety of jobs, but they're all related with 1 or 2 degrees of separation to the fact that we need to produce food. Okay? We want in agriculture, we want to produce food in surplus because we want to sell it for a profit. We will sell the excessive stuff. The excess here means I'm no longer just producing food as a farmer, as an agriculturalist. I'm no longer merely producing food for consumption of my immediate family is going to consume that, or my immediate community is going to consume that. I'm going to sell the rest for profit or benefit, trade it for some kind of benefit for me and my immediate economic group. Okay, so in the last few minutes that I have in this short section of this video, I'm going to explain to you what led us to agriculture. And after we get that background, in another short video, we're going to talk about Thomas Malthus, who is, that famous demographer and economist who talked specifically about the amount of food related to population increase. And he had really dire predictions about, people starving to death because we couldn't produce enough food in his theory. So very briefly, let me talk about the types of subsistence strategies that support very low populations of people, okay? So essentially there are 3 subsistence strategies that exist in the world still today, but were really dominated world populations until about 6,000 years ago, when you really see agriculture being the dominant subsistence strategy. So foraging is one of those subsistence strategies. I'm going to put a dash right there because we're going to talk about foraging in just a second. Horticulture is one of the subsistence strategies, another dash, and pastoralism, okay, another dash. So these 3 subsistence strategies are food-getting strategies, okay? They are plans for survival, but they do not support huge populations of people like we study now in cultural geography. They do not rely on, well, one of them relies on arable land, but not to the certain extent that agriculture does. Okay, so foraging. Foraging supports very small numbers of people, very small. Because in foraging, essentially what it means is, and this is a phrase that you maybe are more familiar with, hunting and gathering. That's what it means. Hunting and gathering. Please don't think of gathering as just berries and fruits and things like that, although it would definitely include that. But what if you set traps for fish? Or what if you want to gather grub worms and other kinds of edible insects that are in your environment? There's a lot of gathering stuff that needs to be done that's not just foliage. This is hunting and gathering is all of the flora and fauna that a geographic location allows you to have, okay? I don't know how to spell fauna, obviously. I'll have to ask Siri, and I don't think I have Siri with me. Anyway, so however you spell fauna, is it that way? There we go. Okay, so foraging supports a very small number of people because, here's the catch, it's completely sustainable, because people who live on foraging as their subsistence strategy, they do not manipulate the natural environment, the natural cycles of how plants and animals reproduce. They do not take seeds from a plant or seeds from those berries that they gathered and keep them until the next planting season to plant them over again so they have a predictable yield. They do not capture deer in the woods and pin them up and start to artificially inseminate them and make them have babies on a predictable schedule so that they can have a certain number of babies to harvest and eat. None of that happens with foraging. With foraging, people have an extremely high knowledge of how the natural patterns work and how the seasons of the years change. They have extremely high knowledge about how to live within an environment that they do not manipulate. They are often nomadic in order to not manipulate the environment, or because they don't manipulate the environment and because seasons change and animals migrate, often foraging groups also travel with that migration pattern or as the seasons change. So the population, it's advantageous for the population to be very, very small because it's just easier to pick up fewer people than a lot of people. And you're not going to have permanent settlements because you're going to be nomadic. Okay. Horticulture, let me see, I've got just another couple minutes before this video ends at the 15-minute mark with this free video screen recorder that I'm using right now. So let me say that the very next video that I post, we're going to pick up with horticulture and talk about it for just a second and the very small numbers of people that it supports. But it begins to look at arable land, it begins to manipulate the environment and with a look at sustainability and arable land in a very different way than agriculturalists do. So let me pause here and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.